Welcome back to the Cap Report. I hope y'all are doing well. In this video, we will be discussing UFC 310, just some general fight announcements. I'm a little late on this one, probably about a week and a half, but I just want to get some general thoughts out. And 310 is looking like a good card. We got two title fights. Belal Muhammad defends the welterweight belt versus Shavkhat Rakhmonov. Alexandre Pantoja defends the flyweight title against Kai Asakura, UFC newcomer. We see Cyril Gane versus Alexander Volkov 2, the rebookings of Vicente Luque versus Nick Diaz, and Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling. Now getting into the main event of this one, we've got Belal Muhammad versus Shavkhat Rakhmonov. You gotta give props to Belal. He wants to defend the belt pretty quickly, and I do think it could be unfortunate for him because, he's testing the boogeyman of the division, as he likes to say. He could have probably hung on to this for a little bit longer than that, but I do have some concerns for Belal. He's 36, and that's not the best age in MMA. If you're light heavyweight, you can kind of get away with it a lot more, but I think once you go below those divisions, the age starts to matter a lot more. It's not as bad as some of those lower weight classes, but it's not the best sign. Shavkat's got some decent size on him. I think he's 2-3 inches taller, 5-inch reach advantage. When the idea of this fight was first being put out, I really was one of those Shavkat mauls him. Shavkat by anything he wants. The more I look at it, I do think there are opportunities for Belal to win, and I think there's questions to be asked of Shavkat that Belal can do that could allow him to win this fight, right? We've never seen Shavkat go 5 rounds. We've never seen him go 3 full rounds, right? He's made it to the 3rd round, but he always finds a finish, right? Shavkat's never gone the distance. So I think there is a chance that if you are able to take Shavkat into those championship rounds, there's a good shot that he gasses. He's looked tired in fights before, and that's not even going the full distance, right? And there's an opportunity to get him to those later rounds, and I know it's Belal we're talking about, but find maybe a late finish, or take those last 2, and if as long as you still one of the first 3 rounds, you get a decision win that way. We haven't seen Shavkat's defensive grappling really get tested, so I think there's a chance for Belal to test that. Can he maybe just kind of smother him in that way? Cut the distance, don't let Shavkat throw what he wants, pressure him a bit, kind of control the pace of the fight, get the fight to the ground, see if he can control the fight on the ground and damage there. I do think there are opportunities and pathways for Belal. I just don't think they're the likeliest. Shavkat is just, dude, he's insane, right? He's never not finished the fight. He's got great striking. There are some inconsistencies or some lapses in his striking defense, but he's got great striking, good kicks. He's very active, throwing up submissions on the ground. He'll even throw submission, he even looks for submissions standing up. And so I think that there's just so many things to consider with him that it makes it hard for guys to find a way to approach him. As that, I think even if he gets taken down, he's going to be looking for submissions. And I think this is going to be like a real true test of him. I mean, both these guys have fought really solid guys going into this, right? Belal Muhammad, he's got a really good streak. Stephen Thompson, Vicente Luque, knocked out Sean Brady, Gilbert Burns, Leon Edwards. I do think that the Gilbert Burns win is being gassed up way too much, way too much. I think people far too often fail to consider the fact that Gilbert Burns injured his entire arm, could not even use one of his arms for the majority of that fight. What was it? I think 3 rounds or more of that fight, Gilbert Burns was fighting one arm. So I don't think the Burns win is as good for Belal, not because of the Burns injury, right? Because for the fact that he couldn't finish a one-armed Burns, I don't think that fight is as good of a win as so many people make it out to be. I think in those situations, and I know it was short notice for Belal, I think it was a short notice fight for Burns too. That being said, I feel like you got to finish the guy in that situation, and I see the Burns fight get thrown out so much as such a quality win for Belal because he dominated that fight. And yeah, he dominated that fight, but how do you not dominate against a guy who only had one arm? Belal was on a great run besides that. I see it get pulled up so often, and to me it's very annoying to just consistently see that getting mentioned when he should have done far better in that fight. But that's just me. That being said, Belal is on a crazy run. Shavkat, not as reputable. You start going down there and you get like Carl Harrison in his last 5, but Neil Magny, Jeff Neal, Stephen Thompson, all finished, and there's something to say for that, right? Those are good guys. Those are guys that are hard to finish. I know Buckley just finished Thompson, but Thompson's a really hard guy to finish, and I don't think that Belal is such a level above these guys, right? He wins fights that these guys don't, so he's maybe a bit of a tier above them. But yeah, man, I can't not see Shavkat finding a finish in this fight. I'm leaning like 70-30 to Shavkat for this fight. Now, Alexandre Pantoja versus Kai Asakura, this one has people up in arms. There are a lot of people not happy about Kai Asakura getting a instant title fight, but I understand it. I mean, brother, who is there for Pantoja to fight, right? First, consider Asakura was a champion of another organization, which I think gives you a lot more leniency towards the instant title fight. But also, the guys we have, Amir Albazi was coming off of he's on a good win streak, but he's coming off of a split decision win. Not the best way to go into a title fight. Kai France only has 1 win. Brandon Royval is, I believe, 0-2 against Pantoja, even though I think one of them was a tough fight. But I do think Royval, no matter what, even if Pantoja wins this next fight, gets the next title shot, I do think Royval has had enough notable wins to get another one. Especially the way Royval lost Pantoja is another reason why you don't want to give him that title fight so easily. So I don't have any issue with this. I just don't think there's guys for Pantoja to fight, right? If Tatsuro Taira had won and you give Kai Asakura the title fight, I can understand that, be frustrated there. But there's nobody for Pantoja to fight, and I think this could be a really fun fight. I guess it depends on how it plays out. out, I am leaning towards Pantoja right now. I think there's gonna be some crazy exchanges standing up, but ultimately I think he's gonna dip under and take Asakura down at some point, and he's gonna control the fight that way. I'm not sure if he finds a finish. There's a chance at a submission win here. I mean, maybe either of these guys probably finish standing up. Kai Asakura has some crazy combinations. I do worry a little bit. He has to adjust to a rule change, right? Like, organization he was in before, needs to have grounded an opponent, soccer kicks, all that kind of stuff were allowed. I'm not gonna go as far to say, you know, Pantoja by disqualification, all that, like a lot of people are saying. I just think Pantoja's fought higher quality guys. He's got better wins, and I think stylistically he matches up good enough against Asakura to win this fight, to edge it out on the ground. Next up, we have Ciryl Gane versus Alexander Volkov 2. This is a rematch. Ciryl Gane won up the first fight pretty handily. I think there were some 50-45s on the scorecards for that one in his come up, but these guys are trending in pretty different directions now, right? Ciryl Gane hasn't fought in a year. He did beat Sergey Spivak in his last fight. He really just hasn't been super active. He lost to Jones before that. He's just been trading wins and losses, right? You go back, Derek Lewis win, Ngannou loss, Tuivasa win, John Jones loss, Spivak win. He's been up and down, gets the title fight, loses, fights a random, wins, gets the title fight, loses, fights a random. That's Spivak's maybe not a random, but you get my point. And I think he's been focusing on acting recently. There is a question, will there be a bit of a fall off? You know, he's older than I thought he was. I didn't realize that Ciryl Gane was 34. I thought he was a little bit younger than that. And granted, Volkov's 35, so I don't know. I just think it's an interesting aspect of this fight that if you look at Volkov, for example, he's on a 4-fight win streak. He's finished 3 of his last 4. He's got finishes over Rosenstruck, Romanov, Tuivasa, and then a decision win over Pavlovich. And so he's on the up and up right now, you know what I mean? So I think there's a chance that maybe he's got momentum and he finds a win in this fight. I am going to lean Ciryl Gane for now. I think Ciryl Gane is the better striker. I think that if Volkov wins this fight, probably going to get this fight to the ground, control Ciryl Gane there. I mean, we have seen Gane lose to guys who can get into the ground, right? There's a lot missing in his ground game, right? So this fight is actually pretty close. I'm leaning Ciryl Gane right now, 55-45, but I'm really thinking about switching this pick to Alexander Volkov. We're pretty far away from this fight at the time being, but I think there's something to be said for the run that Volkov's on right now. And I think that in any other time in the heavyweight division, this is like a title eliminator. You got 3-4, Volkov's on a run. Ciryl Gane just seems to only want to do title fights now, so we didn't have Jones, Stipe kind of holding up this division. The heavyweight division is in a really weird place, right? You got Jones and Miocic fighting. They both might retire. Then you got Aspinall. Pereira might move up, and it kind of just leaves guys like Volkov who have kind of been just stuck around in their career, but you know, has finally put something together and he's going to suffer for it. And I think that kind of sucks. It is what it is, I guess. Moving on, we have the rebooking of Vicente Luque versus Nick Diaz, and once again, the UFC just shows that they hate their legends. I get this is a rebook, but guys, Nick Diaz quit against Robbie Lawler, basically, right? Like, I know this isn't the same Vicente Luque of the past, but like, I don't see how he beats Vicente Luque if he couldn't beat an aged Robbie Lawler. If he quit against the aged Robbie Lawler, what is Luque gonna do to him? I can't imagine he makes it past 2 rounds in this fight. I mean, will he make it out the first? I mean, as I said, I know Luque hasn't been this since the internal bleeding in his head. I just can't see a way that Nick Diaz wins this fight. He's such an older generation guy at this point. If you're gonna fight I mean, I guess it makes sense if you're going to fight a newer generation fighter, maybe you fight someone who isn't the same person as they were, like Vicente Luque, but I can't get the picture out of my head of Vicente Luque dropping a Vicente Nuque on Nick Diaz's head, bro. I can't see Nick Diaz not getting knocked out if he doesn't quit first. Really don't get why they're making this fight. You need to be having these legends fight guys of their era. What's the point in this fight for Nick Diaz other than losing and hurting his legacy? And I guess maybe you say it doesn't hurt his legacy that much because he's not expected to win, but I just don't see the point of this fight, man. And so now we move to the featherweight division. We have Movsar Evloev versus Aljamain Sterling, another rebooked fight. Sterling really made the most out of his introduction to featherweight. He just absolutely dominated Calvin Kattar, but Evloev is a different challenge, right? He's got a much more put together ground game than Calvin Kattar, right? Sterling's not gonna be able to get him to the ground and just utterly control him that same way. And Evloev is able to kind of just mix the striking and grappling a lot better than Kattar. Kattar's a little more one-dimensional in that aspect, you know what I mean? I'm going to lean Evloev right now. I just think that I think he can just put the entire game together better. I think that he's got better stand-up than Sterling, and I think he's close. I think Sterling probably leans Sterling just a little bit on the ground, but I think it's close enough to neutralize it for the most part. So I've got Evloev probably by decision. I'm leaning like a 65-35 on that one. But, you know, I'm really, really excited to see how some of these fights play out. I mean, we also have Anthony Smith, Dominic Reyes. This could be the Anthony Smith comeback. I think he has a chance again fight, but I think that Dominic Reyes will finish him as well. Anthony Smith's another guy, man. He's starting to get to that point. What are we doing, man? I mean, he's good enough to beat guys like low ranked and outside the rankings, but once he fights a guy farther up, he seems to get put back in his place. So yeah, but these are all the fight announcements for UFC 310. Just some of my general thoughts, as always. I appreciate y'all listening. Don't forget to subscribe, like if you haven't. I'd appreciate it. Leave a comment if you just had any thoughts on the 310. What's your early pick for Shavkhat Rakhmonov? Belal? What do you think of Kai Asakura getting a title fight, you know, just to start his UFC career? And just any thoughts you had on anything I said, or, you know, just anything related to this topic. Once again, I appreciate all 399 of you. We lost one, but this has been the Cap Report. I'll see y'all in the next one.